Lawmakers are debating bills that would provide tax credits for so-called transformation projects, the kind that can turn an old dump or abandoned factory into a project that can really put a community on the map. Is it a good deal for taxpayers?
24-Hour News 8's Joe LaFurgey says it depends on who you ask. He has this story from Lansing.
Supporters say there is little value, taxable or otherwise, to the property targeted by this legislation. Opponents call it corporate welfare.
What do you do with an old paper plant along the lakeshore? A riverfront once occupied by pollution-prone factories. Well, the group pushing Michigan Thrive legislation says turn it into something big.
We're talking about game-changing projects for Grand Rapids, whether that's maybe restoring the rapids, both the wet and dry aspects of that project, or other projects that may come down the road.
Michigan Thrive legislation would provide tax credits to developers who take over abandoned and often contaminated sites. The credits would help those developers pay for the cleanup of these sites, a cost supporters of the bill's claim often sends developers to greener pastures. The Senate has already passed the measures, which went before the State House Tax Policy Committee today.
It strives to help communities pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
So-called brownfield credits are not new to Michigan. Grand Rapids has used them extensively over the years. A new hardware store on a site once contaminated by leaky gas station fuel tanks on the west side. Corporate offices for a large construction company where a factory that contained asbestos and other contaminants once sat. But these are smaller projects. The Michigan Thrive legislation aims higher.
This is about projects over $100 million for the Grand Rapids area that are really going to make a difference in taking Grand Rapids to the next level.
But the idea was far from an easy sell for at least one local lawmaker on the Tax Policy Committee.
It's irresponsible for Michigan.
There is, of course, the long-running debate on using tax policy to pick winners and losers. But there appears to be another matter at play. Some Republican lawmakers are still smarting from the February defeat of a tax cut that split the party in the Republican-controlled House.
If we can't get a tax cut, a very modest tax cut for working men and women, why should a billionaire get a tax cut?
We don't think that politics should stand in the way of some really sound legislation.
The committee adjourned. They'll take it up again in the next few weeks. We'll let you know what happens. In Lansing, Joe LaFurgey, 24-Hour News 8.